there were a couple hippies, waterbed guys. Anybody something waterbed?
I did.
So started a little small store, probably half the size of this room here, and they made them, they built them, they sold them, they delivered them, and that turned into one store, turned into two, turned into three or four. Long story short, very successful waterbed business throughout South Florida, and the story goes, late 80s, what do you know, inner spring mattresses were getting better and better, and I think it was apartment buildings weren't allowing waterbeds because of spills and leaks and all that stuff. I remember those good old days. I heard about them. So business started to kind of slow down, and we had to pivot into a full-line furniture retailer. And so we converted it to City Furniture in 1994. At that time, we were doing about, I think, 30 or 40 million bucks. And across the street from us, or no, to the right of us was Levitt's Furniture. Remember Levitt's Furniture? They were the #1 furniture retailer in the country at that time. And to the left of us, or right or left of us, was Rooms to Go. At that time, a very well-funded furniture startup here in South Florida. So, good old little waterbed city. Problem solved their way to becoming South Florida's #1 home furnishing retailer. So that's what we are today. So really, really proud of my uncle, my father's, all their hard work, our entire city family. That period of time. So that was a really difficult transition from waterbeds to home line furniture and grow the business. So fast forward, 2005, we're about a 300 million plus business here in South Florida. Everything's going great. Late 2006, we started to see our comps slow down, and that's when everybody knows what happened in 2007, 2008, South Florida, Great Recession. Very, very, very challenging times were upon us. And that's actually when we began our lean journey. We realized that we had a lot more opportunity to improve our business, get all of our associates involved in process improvement, the class that you guys are in, and just general continuous improvement. So if I back up in 2003, during my my college studies, I got to read a book called The Machine That Changed the World. Fantastic book that highlights the difference between Toyota and all of their continuous improvement methodologies that they apply at Toyota versus, at that time, Ford, GM, Chrysler, literally like the top 10. Their market valuation was, essentially worth like the top 5 or top 6 automobile manufacturers at the time. And if you know anything about Toyota, they came from Japan. Japan's a small little island. How could a small little island and a Japanese automobile manufacturer essentially overcome and become one of the world's best manufacturers? That, I don't know about you, but that was really interesting to me. I was like, what are they doing? So in 2003, I read everything. After that book, I read everything I could on Toyota and kept learning about their process improvement philosophies, their culture, all the different tools that they apply to solve problems in their business. And just fell in love with Toyota. So I asked my father to send me over there for spring break. Sounds kind of weird. So my dad knew Jim Moran. Everybody know JM Lexus? You see those ads? I think it's Southeast Toyotas, they're called. But Jim Moran, essentially, the JM family owns all the Toyota dealerships for the Southeast United States, one of the very most successful ones in the country. So I knew Keith knew Jim, and I was like, Dad, you got to ask him to get me a tour. And he got me a tour. Spent about a week over there, and I got to I saw everything in Toyota City, Japan, in their factories, corporate offices, their interactions with everybody I interact with. I saw what I read, which was just this phenomenal culture of everybody being very respectful to each other, treating each other, equally, and just absolutely fanatics about continuous improvement. So, I guess, that's why you guys are here, hope, and so I come back, I'm trying to explain to my father in 2003, 2004 that, okay, all the books I've read and what I saw, it's real, and we need to go down this journey. And what do you guys think he said of it?
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, it's like, son, we grew our business from a $40 million water bed company to a $300+ million furniture retailer. We know what we're doing. We're up 800% growth in 12 years. It's pretty literally what he said. And I'm like, it's not a bad argument. This whole team was very, very smart. And, but we didn't run our business like we do today. And, with a really strong mindset of continuous improvement. And, so going back to the recession is approaching us. At that time I had my father read a lot of books on anything I could give him when it comes to continuous improvement. 2004, 2005, 2006, he still said, no. All right, the comp started to slow down. He said, okay, what's that stuff all about? And that's when we started our lean journey in 2007. I called the author of the book, The Toyota Way, and I said, Dr. Liker, what do I need to do to get started? Go on this lean journey to continuous improvement journey. He hooked me up with a consulting company called GDC, and for the last 15 years, we've been on a lean journey. We still, to this day, have plenty of consultants coming in and out of here, coaching us, developing us to be better. Carolina and I were in this room 2 hours ago with a Toyota. Did you know Alan Parsley? That guy was a Toyota expert.
No, I saw him, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, he's coaching. He's an HR expert at Toyota. So he's coaching continuous improvement on the HR side. We have maintenance experts. We have supply chain experts. You name it. But we're always trying to learn from everybody, which I highly recommend. I'm glad you're here. If I were you, I would have been here too. I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can how everybody does it in different situations, companies, you name it. It only makes you smarter. So for the last 15 years, what did we do? So we called the consulting company. They came and visited. I remember me and my father were walking around the warehouse here, and he was pointing out all the wastes that we read in the books, and he was pointing them out for our own business. And it was starting to click really big time. And what do you know? We were extremely wasteful. We were way overstaffed. We were very inefficient. Poor quality. I'll get to the metrics in a little bit, but anyways, he was helping us connect, which I'm sure Dr. Kramer's doing with you guys in the class, is helping you connect what you're reading, what's happening in real life, and it was hitting us something like, oh my goodness, I never saw it that way. So, which was good. It was a positive because it was like, great, now we can run our business a lot safer, a lot better quality, a lot, improve our satisfaction, improve our profitability, provide more services for our customers. So what did we do? We hired him. We had 2 major events. We did a very big project on how product flows in the building, which we're going to go see in a little bit here, how it flows out of the building. And that was one of the very first Kaizens, we called it. And we also did a smaller one on a production cell for building chairs. Long story short, enormous headcount reduction. I think we had 9 managers of this process that we might see tonight, where it starts at 6 o'clock. I think we had 9 managers running the process. When we Kaizened it out, we actually only had 1. We ended up with just one supervisor running the process. So imagine that headcount reduction. Don't worry, we made it very clear to all of our associates, thousands of associates, as we went through this lean journey, we were going to repurpose all of our leaders. Nobody was going to lose their job, and we held true to that. When companies do lean or continuous improvement and they let people go, that's where you lose all complete trust from associates, and then they stop giving you ideas, they stop helping you, they don't care. And they, if anything, they'll poison your continuous improvement efforts. So luckily, Keith, my father, is a great guy, and he knows, we treat everybody like family here. We also say like all families, we're not perfect, but we continuously improve that. But anyways, we did it the right way. We made all these amazing improvements, headcount reductions. And by the way, the work wasn't harder, it was simpler. What you'll see tonight, you're not going to see anybody overly stressed or overly hard work, like meaning physically, dangerous or anything like that. We just do it a lot simpler, easier, quicker, just, more smart, I guess. Improve the flow, enormous space reduction of our facility for the product going in and out of our building. I think we reduced our footprint about by 75% on the west side of our building. We almost did a $25 million expansion into our building. And we almost did that prior to the Great Recession, which could have put us in a lot of financial trouble. But lean, all these continuous improvement ideas helped us actually prevent that. And we actually reduced our footprint by 75% on the west side of the building. So millions and millions of dollars saved. The chair assembly one, that was like 1,000% productivity improvement. So those Kaizens really woke us up like, oh my goodness, there's a better way to run this business. Any questions so far? Remember, I said make this interactive. Everybody's got to speak, or else I'm
So
gonna
the
fall asleep.
first resistance you found was your father, right?
Say it again.
The first resistance to change, it was your father.
He was, to start the journey. Yeah, to
Yes.
start the journey. But he read the books. I made him read multiple books a year. We'd have really good conversations. It was soaking in, but it wasn't until the recession where he was like, okay, let's go all in. And but when he said, let's go all in, he's been my biggest fan ever since. And he's been our biggest supporter to getting this culture moving forward. I'll fast forward 15 years into this. It's kind of a sad stat. I was talking about this a couple times last couple weeks. I think we've lost about 10 vice presidents in the last 15 years. People resistant to change. We gave them plenty of time, but they were just not embracing a lot of the philosophies and obvious cultural things that we now, it'd be silly not to allow suggestions or give people the opportunity to solve problems or come up with ideas on their own. You know what I mean? Back then, for some leaders, it was like, I made all the decisions for 20 years. Now, I don't care about your idea. You're going to do it this way. You're going to do it this way. You're going to do it this way. And we had a lot of that in place. And at that time, in 2006, 7, 8, that was not that uncommon in the world. There's, unfortunately, American management style, like the GE approach, was pretty top down. So I hope that answers. Give me another one before I get back to my story. Come on, help me out.
How you overcame the resistance from the crew when you try to change or when you try to implement lean on the floor?
Yeah. So when we got that, when we did those first Kaizens, so imagine 1,000% productivity improvement. You don't win everybody over, but I might have won these two over. You guys are still not sure. And then we would do another event, and then maybe we did it in your area, and then now you're sold. Okay, there's a better way of running business. And then the next event we do it in your area, and now you're sold. So it takes time. I reflect as we were going down this journey. We shouldn't have gone after teaching everyone and assuming we'd get everybody bought in. About 3 or 4 years into the journey, I stopped focusing on many, and I started focusing okay, the next 2 or 3 months, we're gonna spend a lot of time together, and we're gonna get aligned, and I'm gonna spend a lot of time with you, and then I'm gonna spend a lot of time with you. So I kind of like to say it's one person at a time. Now you have so many people all for this, it's the norm. Waste is crazy. Doing something unsafe is, why would you do that? It's hard for our culture to realize that, but I get to see it because I know the before and I know the after. So I hope that makes some sense. But early on the journey, be patient, take a few people at a time, one person at a time, and try to get your wins, and over time you'll change the culture, and it happens.
The time that you started and the 20, very helpful that the recession was starting at that time also.
Yeah, I think that you can look at it both ways. Yes and no. Some people thought they were going to lose their job if they reduced, the process 50%, and there's literally no jobs out there. You know what I mean? So we had some of that. But we also had some people like, oh, we need to do this to stay profitable. So you had a little bit of a both. When I go to conferences and I ask like people that have been doing this for 50 years, I go, what makes it successful? And the most common answer I hear is two things: CEO or a recession forced the factory or company to really rethink how to run their business. I hear those two things most often. We had both. We had Keith. Keith was very supportive. Like I told him, you got to come downstairs and tell everybody, blah, blah, blah. He was there. He showed up and he would do his thing. Hey, this is a really important Kaizen. We really need to figure out how to sell faster, quicker, easier, whatever the Kaizen was. He was always there. And yes, we also had the recession that we could say, we need to do this to keep, profitable and paying everybody properly and stuff like that.
Do all the efforts for process improvement that you put into place or things that you go after, do they have to have a gain? Do they have to have a monetary gain on the other side of that? Is that, I mean, because it's a business, so you have, but is it always that, or do you have examples where it's not that?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna go actually see a Kaizen. It's a night Kaizen tonight. I don't even know if I show you that, but we have a Kaizen tonight. So whenever we do a project, it's definitely to solve either one of these 5 problems: safety, quality, customer satisfaction, performance, which is financial, or teamwork, which is associate morale. So it's a really good question. I think we've solved a lot of. Go ahead.
Can I step in really quick?
Go. Yes, the whole time.
I didn't want to I would say, no, it's not always something that has a money value, right? Like, yes, it's a business. Yes, we want to be profitable, but sometimes it takes a little bit of money to make a change happen. So for example, teamwork is one of our KPIs. And sometimes it's, hey, let's do an event, right? To recognize this team who did a really awesome, quarter. So we're going to spend a little bit of money to recognize them. And you better believe the next quarter, they're going to come back and, do double work, right? Or they're going to be really awesome, or they're really going to care, or they're going to find more problems. So in that moment, yeah, we spent a little bit, but afterward, it's kind of like we gained something from it, right? So it's not always like, oh, we need to look at our ROI. How much money are we saving, right? Sometimes it can be you're improving that morale, you're improving that teamwork.
I should say we're definitely solving the problem. That
Yeah.
we're working. If we're combining, horsepower and stuff, it's one of those 5 categories. Yeah.
The reason I ask that is I work in state government. There's no profit motive at the end of things to say we need to improve this process. It's about efficiency. It's about managing the amount of FTE that we're getting. And that's usually less and less over time. So we have to become more efficient, but without that profit motive at the end to say, hey, this, making this much more. There's no profit.
Yeah, no, it's a big challenge in government. It's a big challenge in healthcare. So yeah, we can get into that. But I think what I think might be applicable to all industries is like going back to your question. It's just like one person at a time. I wish I would have focused on getting one person at a time versus trying to teach 20 people in a department this better way of solving the problems. That was a mistake on my part. What we did. Yeah.
More really early adopted, your executive management level or your people in the factory?
People in the factory, so to speak. Yeah.
They understood it more.
They saw the safety problem. They saw the burden. They saw the physical burden on their body. They saw the frustration. So when we did a Kaizen, when we pulled them into the room, we visualized the process, and we would almost laugh at it. We'd be like, oh my God, look, you're bending down like every time, 1,000 times a day. Like your back's going to be done in a year. All right, let's fix that. So I think they were definitely more prone to improve the process because they were doing the work. During these Kaizens, it was amazing things. We would have like, a $15 an hour associate debating with our CFO on how to improve a process. And they both made each other better. And the outcome was some great process improvement. So that's when I think we all started to see cross-functional teams how critical that is, which you'll see for Kaizen tonight in everybody's different departments, stuff like that. So, but here's a few other things, and maybe we'll leave it here, and get walking in like 5 minutes or so. So as we did the Kaizens, we made major progress. We ended up 4 or 5 years into our journey building our leadership training program, which was huge to our culture. So it actually still exists to this day. It's tweaked, it's continuously improved, of course. You'll hear that a lot. But it's still an 80-hour leadership training program. I'd say we have a few hundred leaders now trained on it. And now we're spending 80 hours with 10 people for 2 weeks, really trying to teach them what we mean about our city furniture operating system, how we work, how we implement, continuous improvement through here. So that really has changed our culture dramatically. We ended up changing our strategic planning process. I actually had 2 experts here. Guy who wrote a book on Hoshin planning. Said it was the best he's ever seen. Pretty impressed. I was pretty impressed. He was here for 2 days last week, and of course he still drilled me. And Dave, our head of strategy, he gave us a lot of good ideas, but it was a really nice compliment. But that was a big deal. Your strategic planning process, leadership training. We implemented our suggestion system 10 plus years ago. Before the pandemic, I think we had 2.5 suggestions per person in ops. That'd be like the equivalent of 2,500 ideas implemented in ops. Which is so awesome. We implemented city circles. We actually did it today. We had we started in 2015. Really important, groups of 5 people for 12 weeks, 1 hour a day.
I'm about to say, please explain what city circles are.
Oh yeah, so it's groups of 5 people, cross-functional, 1 hour a week for 12 weeks, assigned a problem, or they pick a problem to solve, and then we carve out the time so that they work on the project for the 12 weeks. They present it to senior management. I was sitting right here, and they were presenting me today and a few others, and the whole room. That's why all this food's here, by the way. Wait, right? Or no?
No, that's for them.
Oh, this is for you. Never mind. We had other food on that side for probably like 60, 80 people here, and they present all the problem solving. I think we had 3 projects today that their forecasted ROI was 200 grand, all 3 of them separately, and they only spent 12 hours and 12 weeks together. How cool is that? Pretty productive 12 hours. So if they're half right, if it's 100 grand each of them, it's phenomenal. Regardless, all of us learned. I learned tons. I didn't know several things about what we were doing in certain areas of business. We all learned how to solve problems better. It's just tremendously important for your culture. So you got suggestion systems, strategic thinking, city circles, we got Kaizens. And you just get this energy of continuous improvement. Got documented standards. We're going to walk around here, see a lot of visual controls. Yes, Steve.
Things have changed in the last few years, not because of COVID, but because you've expanded. This used to be headquarters only. Everything was epicenter here, and you had your hands around it. So just spend a couple minutes, talk about how this is working or isn't, how's this working now that you have major distribution challenges and logistics?
Yeah, we have now 3 facilities, about to have our 4th Tampa. Our Tampa facility headquarters is actually 50% bigger than this building, and it opens in July. So it's really monster. So yeah, I honestly, Steve, our leaders are trained on CFOS, and they're applying the same thinking, and they're just adapting it to multiple facilities.
So are they expats, or most of them start here and then go deploy, or,
Yeah.
or do you have some that start there?
Almost all leadership started here, went
that
to
helps. Yeah.
Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, on that note, yes.
And we started them early, right? We were kind of already transitioning, like, okay, you're going to go to Tampa, but you're going to train here. Like
Okay.
you're already in some kind of position, you get to train some time, and then, okay, now you're going to go. So
Yeah.
we've been pretty good, I would say, especially with Tampa, with kind of just getting everybody ready to go and like, okay, you know everything, you're good to go.
Yeah, part
Improvement there.
of our CFOS journey, we've done a really good job of in my opinion, of building our HR team in our learning and development department that forces department leaders like ops and sales and all these departments to forecast their headcount a year out. And, okay, Tampa's a year out. You're going to need 3 more directors, 2 more senior managers, 1 more, and they work with leadership to come up with that plan. So part of our lean journey, I remember 5 years into our lean journey, like hit my head against the wall, like, you're not telling me something. Toyota people, like, you're not telling me something. I was like, we're implementing these standards, but they're not being sustained. Remember, like, the head person in HR, at human resource said, go read TWI. And it's really good feedback, because essentially TWI is just a lot, it's how to train better, it's how to plan headcount resources better. There's really all these great ideas and standard work doesn't mean anything if people aren't properly cross-trained. If you don't have the leader ready for the role in a year from now, now everybody's, their leader is someone that's poorly trained or was trained yesterday. So they put a lot of good emphasis on training and development. And I felt like we went like on this like continuous improvement journey as well as this HR human resource planning journey. And they kind of meet in the middle, but anyways, to your point, that that is a secret sauce of like when you walk around here, you're just really well cross-trained. If someone gets sick, if someone gets pregnant, if someone whatever, we're pretty well covered. That keeps the things going. So TWI cross-training, big into our journey, a lot of those continuous improvement things. Let me fast forward, it's 7 o'clock. So pre-lean, our workers' comp is down like 75%. So you're talking a lot of incidents, a lot less incidents, and a lot of money saved. And more importantly, a lot of like people, nobody's going home and telling their wife, here. That's a big deal. Huge morale in there. Quality was actually, it's actually 60% better than it was pre-pandemic, which is pretty cool. Customer sat pre-pandemic, we were for 2 years we were right around 96%, and right now we're battling to get. Well, we just got about 90%, but we're battling to get to 94 as our goal by the end of the year. I'm sure everybody's aware of all the supply chain challenges. So right now, our customers are not giving us a break, which that's fine. That's totally fine. That's on us. We have to get that. I will say that we have the most in stock than anybody, faster, quicker delivery than anybody, but still not good enough. I agree with the customer. And then, top line, bottom line, our sales are through the roof. Last year we almost did 800. This year our goal is to and they're the most profitable we've ever been. So, and then turnover in the warehouse, what used to be 150% turnover, 150% turnover. And so we're about a third of that now. And we employ our own drivers. So just so you guys know, national driver turnover is about 100%. We're like right around 50. We're not happy with it. I see the drivers all the time. Nobody's saying like, screw you, manager, I'm out of here, you treat me like crap. They're like, I can't do this job anymore. And which, again, I'm not trying to make excuses. We have to problem solve. We have to figure out how to make it an easier job to do. And but I'm really proud of our culture here. Hopefully, it'll get it. You guys are doing a great job solving turnover and customer care. But anyways, we're really focused on turnover reduction. So all the metrics through the roof. So and I think we're happier. I think people are going home on time. I remember supervisors work 80 hours a week here at City, and now you overwork people here, you can get fired. That's non-negotiable. Work-life balance. This is kind of like my only threat. You knowingly overwork people like that. You're taking away time from families, wives, husbands, whatever. Fun time. So anyways, culture is really strong and I'm really proud. Continuous improvement. You'll see a lot. On the tour, I think I'll point things out. It'll be easier to explain. Are you bringing your camera with you?
No, you didn't want to stream to, so that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll stop the streaming here and then we can take off. Anything else? We good?
I don't know. You guys give me a
Kevin,
couple
you got any
questions
questions?
before we walk. Yes, sir. Thank you.
How do you manage the turnover with inflation and most of the companies, let's say people compete with you, raising the payout for the employees, stuff like that?
So we have a dedicated, very smart leader that's trying to keep an eye on compensation in the market like daily. It's changing almost every minute, right? It's very fast. So But I mean, the amount of compensation changes to our program, like increases, I don't know how many we've had in the last 12 months. It's insane. So we're committed to being, you know, maybe not Google money, but like a really strong compensated company. As our business improves, the more we have to provide. So we should be very competitive in our market. I just had an associate email me today that we were off, and sorry, we'll follow up with our research analysts and we'll look at it. So it's a moving target, but we're constantly trying to stay where we need to be so we can attract and retain our talent. That's our goal. My goal too, as we make more money, shift it right back there, whether it's comp, benefits, rewards, or culture, or training development. The good thing is financially, as we make a lot of money, there should be no reason why we can't make that happen. So I'll never forget visiting Toyota 5 years of my journey. I remember that compensation alignment. I didn't see that. I didn't read that in books. They didn't tell me that. But they're psychotic about making sure there's really strong compensation alignment. And so the last 10 plus years, we've worked really hard to get everybody aligned compensation wise, meaning if we hit these goals, we're rewarded, everybody grows it, so we just did some massive improvements to our comp program for sales this past month, actually. Much better than it was. We just haven't gotten there over the last 10 years. So, but you got to take care of people or else we lose it, right? So we're actively working on it. So we're monitoring almost daily.
Can I add to that? So my department actually has really improved on turnover, specifically because yes, compensation is important, but you always hear people leave their boss. They don't leave, their job, right? So some of the things we did is we actually do a monthly survey with different questions every month. And we ask them, how can we make your job easier? We did that one. How can we communicate better with you? How can we, specific questions? And they've been really great at giving us oh, we need this, or we need this, or why is this like this? And that's kind of how we're oh, we didn't realize that they had a problem with certain things. So then we've been tackling those, right? So now Laura, our director in our department, she's been tackling each question. Somebody asks a question in the survey and she goes for that, right? Let's fix this. Maybe more people have that problem and didn't stay. And we've kind of been changing kind of the culture in our department based off what they're telling us, right? Ultimately, they're the ones doing the hard work, right? The down in the trenches job. So we need to make their life easy, right? They're the ones who are doing the job. So that's kind of where we started saying, what do you guys need from us? And we will give you, what you need. So I think that's what's really helped us is asking the specific questions to get, hey, how can we make your job easier? How can we make your life easy? So I recommend that if you're looking at turnover, start asking your associates, right? What do you need from us? And then it's hard to do everything at once. So you kind of need to go one by one, but start looking at what are the biggest problems, what's the most common problem, and then going after those. And then you'll see your turnover change a lot, which has worked for us recently. As he kind of mentioned, our department's doing well there.
Are those surveys anonymous?
Yes, they are anonymous. Actually, the last survey we did, we told them to put their position title. We have different little sub departments and things like that. But we usually do anonymous, and we just ask varying questions. Like I said, what would make your job easier? You'd be surprised. Some of the things they say are oh, why we've never thought about that before. So yeah, so anonymous, and then if I don't know how many sub departments you have. You could do that as well, because sometimes maybe one sub-department has a certain problem and another one has something different. So you can kind of start finding what's your worst problem and then tackling it that way. So that's just from my own experience. Mm-hmm.
Let's see this culture, see if I'm a bunch of BS.
Okay, any question, Kevin or Andrew online, you have any questions while we wrap this up? You're muted, Kevin, just so you know. There you go.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good as well. Thanks for sharing. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, excellent. So we're going to end the streaming portion. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we're going to go on the tour. So hey, good to see you, Kevin. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye.